Welcome into House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me today is one of my favorite compas here, is Fernando Ramirez, who does it for the Sporting Tribune. Uh, Fernando, how you been? I know you just got done doing What's Up Bulls, so we really appreciate having you on here for House of Horns, and I get to have a co-host today, so that's also pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, I was doing. Dan felt bad because he missed the show with Tyler Dragon, so he was like, I need to make it up to the people. So he jumped on, and I thought we were gonna do 30 to 40. We did an hour and 10. So I was like, geez, but people love it and people love him. So I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I'll give you people whatever you want. But yeah, no, it's also it's fun. Robert D had a fascination with Dan's
Yes.
ass during the
Yeah, he's like,
during the
"What's
What's
up,
Up
Vic?"
Bulls.
And then,
So
of course, Fernando as well. So I think
yeah,
he's shout out to Robert D. Thanks for
he had a
checking in with us.
fascination with Dan's ass on Compas. He's like, did he go get shot up? Is that why he's ready to go? And I'm like, no, Dan did it the natural way. So we were just laughing about that.
That's awesome. All right, Fernando. So in this episode, we'll go over what the Rams some of the Rams offseason upgrades, the three signings they were made official today, and then as well talk about a little bit about some of the players that they lost. There's been about five guys who have signed somewhere else. So with that said, I just want to know from Ram fans, in our engagement question of the week is which Rams free agent loss will be missed the most. So let us know who you guys think. So far, they've lost Demarcus Robinson, Bobby Brown the third, Christian Rosenboom, Neville Gallimore, Jake Hummel, and Michael Hoyt. So let us know who they will miss the most. And yeah, he said Robert D says he needs a shot to get better. So uh, yeah, it's good to have Robert D back. Awesome to have him. But all right, Fernando, and I'm glad you're here today joining me because you are very familiar with one of the players that the Rams signed, one of the three players that was officially, um, they had a press conference for the three players. You had Davante Adams, you had Coleman Shelton, who comes back after a year away with the Chicago Bears, and then, of course, defensive tackle Poona Ford. Just give me your impressions of having Poona Ford for a year with the LA Chargers. I forgot that he was an undrafted guy. He's a Southern guy. He's not much of a talker from a lot of the questions that he got today. So just wanted to get your impressions of the 1 year that you got to be around Poona Ford.
Puna's better after games. Like when you ask him, he'll give you the real deal. Like he'll be like, "Yeah, we played like shit. Like we should have done this, we should have done that." So that's the thing about Poona. Puna's very Poona might be bad like leading up to a game or speaking to him like in his opening press conference. But when you talk to him after a game, that's usually when you get the good stuff. He also was really good at the exit interviews. He's like, I feel like we kind of dropped the ball. We had it right there. We should have beat Houston. We felt like we could do more than just a first round exit and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, wow. So he was really good when it came to that. As a player, he was fantastic for the Chargers. And I know a lot of Charger fans are angry that they lost him, especially because the Rams are only paying him $9.5 million this year. But Poona's a guy that's going to do exactly what Brenda Song wanted. By the way, Tyler Dragon not knowing that is a damn shame. So I
Yeah.
hope you looked it up and saw who she is. But it's good. He's going to plug up the middle. He's not just a run stopper, but he's also a guy that can sack the quarterback. I think he had 4 sacks. If I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 sacks this year. But he disrupted the quarterback. There was a move against, and I think I told you guys on the show against New Orleans where he was going up, kind of attacking towards his right. He does a spin move like that Dwight Freeney would be proud of. He turns it back around and he sacks the quarterback. I just can't remember who it was because Rattler took over, and then the other guy came in after for him. So because he got benched, but Poona's a guy that's going to give you 110%. I know I had spoken to other people that had covered Poona before, and they said, "Well, he can't stay healthy sometimes, or he's good, but there was a but." And this year there was no but. He really excelled in what I thought was kind of a weaker point for the Chargers. I thought defensive line was a little weak at times. So Poona was a one shining bright star. There was not a lot of big runs on them because of the way Poona Ford would stop. So I think the Rams are getting an excellent player, and if they use him correctly, the way the Chargers, similar to what the Chargers did, he should be pretty good. And obviously, Giff Smith is the defensive line coach, and he's a great guy. I mean, I was around him for so many years, and Giff is truly one of a kind. So definitely, I think Rams fans should be excited about the addition of Poona Ford.
Yeah, and my part of why I wasn't as high on the Chargers going into last season was because of the run defense. I didn't think they were going to be good at stopping the run, and then some of these additions that you see, I know a lot of teams right now are not happy with the fact that some of their teams are not going out there and spending the money. Like the Chargers, which you just got done doing a podcast about. But sometimes it's those underrated signings, and I thought I know a lot of people are excited about the Davante Adams. I understand why they would be, but the offense I know was inconsistent last season with the Rams, but one of the big Achilles heels for this Rams team was their run defense, and so being able to get a guy like Poona Ford really helps them. And so, yeah, I
Well,
wanted
and
to get
and
you.
you know they have Saquon Barkley's
Yep.
runs imprinted into their heads.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
know exactly every big run that he had. They know all about that. So they're pissed off about that, and they wanted to make an example out of it. And we all know that those guys have a good defensive line already. You add Poona Ford and you're basically taking it to the next level. So
Yeah.
they should be pretty good.
Yeah, and then kind of moving over now to the Davante Adams, listening to the press conference today. I mean, there was nothing new. I thought that the biggest takeaway from it was the fact that Sean McVay was aggressive about going after him. He sent him a couple of reels of how he would fit into the offense, and this was the first time that Davante Adams has been a free agent, and so he was like, I wanted to take advantage of it. But when you have someone like Sean McVay, while you're on vacation, because he was on vacation in Japan with his friends, so he was getting hit up by Sean McVay. So he
I
said
did know
he
that like Micah Parsons, Justin Fields, and other like I feel like sometimes these guys take group vacation. So I wonder if Devontae was on a family one or a group
no, I
one
said
because
he said friends. So
yeah.
because he said that he interacted more with Sean McVay than he did with his wife, who was not on the trip. So I
So
thought that was
it's funny that Sean McVay always gets his guys on vacation.
right.
You remember he got Matthew
Yes.
Stafford. They just happened to be at the same resort in
Yeah.
Cabo San Lucas, and they got to talking. And hey, what if we did this together? And no, I think we could win we could win a Super Bowl together. So
Yeah.
it's funny when they do something like that. But I mean, Sean McVay gets his guys on vacation, I guess.
Yeah, and I thought the other thing that kind of, and you'll love this from the presser, was he compared him to John Gruden with the way he goes about the way
That's funny.
he spoke to him, which he is a disciple of John Gruden. I mean,
Yeah,
he's from his coaching tree. So I
yeah.
mean, in the way he is about the whole, I mean, he learned a lot under John Gruden, and so I'm not surprised. But he's like, yeah, you could tell that whenever he's done with this, he's going to be on TV. And I'm like, yeah, like Fernando's been talking about this for a while now.
Can I hijack this a little bit
Yeah,
and
yeah, go
show a
ahead.
video? So this
Yes.
is from Devontae. He's being asked what how Sean McVay is as a recruiter, and this is what he had to say.
How do you describe Sean as
Aggressive. I'll say, but in all the right ways though. He sent me a couple highlight tapes of myself narrating. It was kind of John Gruden esque a little bit, and you know how he is with ball. So he's breaking down every single clip. The first one was like 7 minutes, and then he sent another one that was like probably another 2 minutes, where he's just going through everything, talking about it like he's. I thought he took that job to be on TV for a minute when I was watching it, but yeah, it just shows how much ball means to him, how much of a priority I was for him, and the rest of the guys here, because obviously it's not just him making those decisions. So, but when you have that from a coach, and you're on the free market and you don't see it from anybody else to that level, it means a lot.
How do you
That's I mean, that's a pretty good clip.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, the John Gruden-esque, but it was definitely funny to hear Davante. We said, and we have buddies that have covered that cover the Raiders and stuff, and they've said that Davante's a hit and miss sometimes. And that question, I mean, you could tell, like the fact that he said he sent me a couple of videos narrating, I started laughing. I'm like, and again, I thought of John Gruden the way he does it. So, and McVay's a young guy, so obviously he can relate to these guys. He knows exactly how to kind of, like I said, relate. And I feel like really a lot of people really like, a lot of players really like playing for him because of that factor that he has of being able to relate to everybody. It seems like he is really one of one.
Yeah, and I mean, for him to be just hitting them up, I'd be, but at the same time, like if you're Devontae, you're taking a vacation and you have a coach who's over here trying to recruit you. I mean, I understand where both of them are coming from,
Yeah,
but
you
in
want to be
terms,
wanted, and Davante
yes,
was wanted by Sean McVay.
yeah. Now, let me ask you, in terms, as you said, we have people who we know that, and I followed most of his career with the Raiders. Um, how do you think he fits in with the Rams now? Like, you have a Puka Nakua, you have Tutu Atwell, who they resign. So they have, this. We talked to Tyler Dragon yesterday. He talked about, I read his story, and he was talking about how this Rams offense can be top three, or the top offense in the league now with by adding Davante Adams.
I just think what Eric said is true. They do need another running back just because they need somebody else, because Kyron does tend to get hurt and stuff like that. But I think Devontae fits. I think Tutu's kind of their speed guy.
Hmm.
And I feel like Devontae and Puka are more the finesse. Like Keenan, I remember, would tell me for years that he's like, I want to be the best route runner, but Devontae is the best route runner that I know. And Devontae coming off the line, he's very quick, very aggressive. He's able to move the ball, or he's able to move really well without the ball. He gets open, so he's going to be that back shoulder throw that I'm sure Matthew Stafford loves to make. It's going to go to him. So I definitely think that Matthew is going to benefit, and he's gonna say, "Oh wow, without, like, imagine." I can't imagine life now without Matthew Stafford, because Matthew's one of the I'd say he's a top 5, top 6 quarterback right now in the NFL. I think
Yeah.
he can still spin it, and I feel like he's going to get Davante the ball. Now it's going to be about obviously getting him in the best position to succeed as a team, and there's nobody better than Sean McVay at drawing that up. So I'm sure they're going to do that.
Yeah, and one of my priorities for this Rams team during this offseason was getting an X receiver, because a lot of the times when you see, which is he's pretty much replacing Demarcus Robinson's role on this team. When you have the 11 personnel, when you'll see Puka going in motion, and then Davante Adams will stay there on the X, and you need someone at the X to be able to, because you're going to get a lot of press from the cornerback there. So you need to be able to beat cornerbacks off the line, and he's still able to do that really well. So, and as you said, I'm interested to see what happens with Tutu Atwell, because he's been kind of a disappointment. Gilbert, just he was at the end of the season, he was like, I don't want to see Tutu Atwell on this team anymore. Like, and so
Wow,
I understand
the heel.
where Gilbert was coming from. But they re-signed him. They gave him $10 million to come back. So
Dude,
yeah,
I'm telling, like, some of these contracts that were given out, you're just like,
yeah, yeah,
I
and I
I
get
was
it.
just a
Like,
little surprised.
and we'll have this discussion. I want to have this discussion because I feel like it has to do with the middle class of the NFL, and I think by having the rookie contracts, and now having that extra money because the salary cap went up these last 2 years, that middle class of players is really getting paid, and they're at the time right now when you can get paid, because eventually they're going to get squeezed out again, and so you need to make sure that you take advantage of it right now. And part of it too that we'll get into it on Tuesday that I kind of want to get into it is the fact that a lot of these guys were able to re-sign because of that cap going up. But I wanted to get to
Yeah.
these comments here. Robert D says he has a good quarterback that still has a nice arm to throw to him now. So yeah, that helps. I mean, I think part of the reason he went there was, look, he's gone from uh Rodgers to not having a quarterback, which is also funny that he's also reuniting with Jimmy G, who, and you remember, Fernando, that Netflix special. He was pissed at Jimmy G because he couldn't get
Yeah.
him the ball and he went off. And so this is going to be another one where you're kind of, I was waiting for somebody to ask him, hey, are you looking forward to being reunited with Jimmy G? But I think it was everybody, all the reporters wanted to play nice today. So I'm sure somebody will ask him about Jimmy G being back.
I would have asked him. Oh, look at this. This is funny.
Yeah.
So it was Sam Darnold's introductory press conference. Somebody goes, "Hey, look,
Yeah.
it's Sam Darnold." Somebody goes, "Hey, look, it's Jared Verse."
That's a great. Whoever did that, that's awesome. That's a great
That's
edit.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Right now you're gonna do that, but I think when you have the opportunity, maybe off camera, somebody's
Yeah.
gonna ask him, "Hey, what do you think about being in the same team as Jimmy G?" And
Yeah.
we all saw the video. Look, I'll tell you one thing. I would have asked him.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to have asked him just because I would have been like, "Hey, what's it like to be on the same team as Jimmy G again?"
Yeah.
And see what he has to say about that. Because I mean, there always has to be like nice, and you have to ask him stuff like that. I mean, we saw the video. He's crashing out, like throwing his helmet.
Yep.
He's sitting outside of the locker room, kind of sitting there, like really pissed off. And I mean, you just can't hide that. But I mean, obviously, it is what it is. By the way, Mike Garafolo tweeted out that as part of the trade to the Bears, Jonah Jackson received an extra year, a contract extension with the Bears. So I know it's a former Ram, but still just interesting.
No, I talked
to see
about
that.
it, and it actually ended up, it cost him about 15, was it 15 or 25? I forget. Some for 1 year and 4 games of Jonah
He will.
Jackson.
Oh, so
Yeah.
here it just says that he'll. Okay, so this is different than what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah,
they
so
get,
the Rams paid for 1 year because of the signing bonus and what he got paid last season. I think it was around either 15 or 25 million dollars for 4 games. And then now, because of the trade, everything goes to the Bears now. So they're responsible for the rest of the money.
he was at Lion, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was with Ben Johnson.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
thought so.
Yeah.
Wow, so he's gonna be reunited there. I'm interested to see what's gonna happen with the Bears. Really interests me, but my bad, we're jumping off shit. But the Bears interest me to see what that offensive line really is, because he was just injury prone with the Jonah.
Yeah, he got hurt. He got a shoulder injury, and then they tried putting him back on, they tried putting him back to be a starter. It was terrible, and they just decided, you know what, we're just gonna move on. They Bo Limmer remained the center, which actually this is a great transition, Fernando. So the third guy they signed was Coleman Shelton, the former center, and he can also play guard. So he leaves to the Bears last season, and he was one of the guys that was responsible for protecting Caleb Williams, and things didn't go well. So he listening to the presser, he was really happy. He's from the LA area, so he was happy to be back in LA. But in terms of Coleman Shelton, I wanted to get to this comment because Henry Camacho says none of this matters without the signing of Coleman Shelton. Of course, Adams will ball out because he's on the team that has a plan, not just a pretty object. Blake Corum will shine. And Blake Corum was kind of a disappointment last season, but getting back to Coleman Shelton and this signing, Bo Limmer, it gives Bo Limmer, who was the rookie out of Arkansas last season, who performed. I thought, watching him during preseason and even in training camp, I felt like he had a chance to start. And then you had Steve Avila. They wanted to move Steve Avila to center and then have Jonah Jackson play left guard and have Kevin Dotson play right guard. Well, once Jonah Jackson got hurt, that allowed Bo Limmer to enter the starting lineup, and he lost it for one game because they wanted it once Jonah Jackson was apparently healthy. Uh, they thought that he would be on the bench, but Bo Limmer started the rest of the season. But now it kind of gives Bo Limmer some competition, and you always want to see competition. Coleman Shelton, I think where you kind of want to see is he going to play guard? Can he play guard and then also center? And so he
Yeah.
provides a little bit of that which they need on this offensive line.
Yeah, no, and I mean, we've seen would you say they've been up and down as an offensive line?
Yes, well, the thing was with Alaric Jackson getting suspended the first two games, their left
Oh
tackle,
yeah.
and then I mean, I know a lot of Ram fans are happy to see Joe Noboom being gone because he was like a swing tackle that you can move around, but he was terrible at every precision. Whether Rob Havenson went down and he would be plugged in at right tackle, he was terrible there. Whether, like I said, he started for Alaric Jackson, he was terrible there. So they're gonna need more help along the offensive line. I would like for them to go and get another tackle now that they've re-signed Alaric Jackson. So, yeah, I mean, it gives them that inside the line, but they need some. They need to look for their right tackle of the future because Rob Havenstein, he announced he's coming back. But you don't know how much longer he can do this. He's the last Fernando. He's the last remaining St. Louis Ram.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah. Aaron,
Wow.
it was him and Aaron Donald, and now it's just Rob Havenstein. He's the last.
They Yeah. No, and I mean they also need to I mean, we remember the year, when was it? It was Gilbert's first year covering, or the
Yeah,
only year that he covered the Rams, where they were just beating the crap out of Matthew Stafford, and you just can't go back to that.
yeah.
So I'm sure offensive line is going to be a huge topic. I mean, looking at the draft, where they're drafting
They're
26,
Yeah, they're
20.
drafting in the middle, and they don't have a second round pick because they traded that pick to get Braden Fisk to move up with the
Oh,
Panthers to be able to get Braden Fisk. I think what ends up happening with the Rams is they might trade back and
yeah, and
to
get
be able
a
to
second
get now
rounder.
they get two third round picks. One of them is from Raheem Morris, the compensation for him signing
Oh yeah,
with so they get two third round picks. So that'll help them. I could see them drafting a quarterback, but and then this also goes to this comment with from Henry says it changes the way they draft best player available or trade back to get some depth. And I think I agree with that. I think now that you have Coleman Shelton on the in the fold now, you don't need to go get a receiver. I think, and then this goes to the next comment from Dano. Rams need linebacker, and part of the reason they need linebackers, Fernando, is because they lost two of their linebackers to free agency. I think I don't think it hurts them in terms of their linebackers. I think it hurts them more in terms of special teams because they lost two
mhm,
special teams aces. Christian Noteboom goes to the Panthers, and then Jake Homo goes to the Ravens. And those are two guys that once we as Eric Williams reminded us, once they traded Ernest Jones before the season, which a lot of Ram fans weren't happy about.
yeah.
Once they traded him to the Titans, and then he got traded to Seattle, um, it left a hole there. So and then this is a good linebacking draft. So I can expect them if they trade back. I can see them drafting a linebacker either in the second or the third round, depending on if they get extra picks if they trade back in the first
Did
round.
did Bobby Wagner go Seahawks, Rams, Seahawks, Commanders?
Yes. So he was here for that 1 year that
The
Gilbert was
terrible year.
yeah, the
Yeah.
terrible year. And then he went to the Seahawks. He went back to the Seahawks and then went to Washington, and now he's there one more year, which I'm impressed with because middle linebackers don't usually last this long.
Dude, I'm well, London Fletcher was like the exception where he
Oh
was
yeah.
there for years. Ray Lewis, I mean the deer antler spray and some other shit, but yeah, no, I definitely think that they do need linebacker help. I just wonder if they're gonna go free agency or the draft. It seems more like the draft, unless they can
Yeah.
find like a Zach Bond, or I know everybody now is going to use Zach Braun
Yep.
as a measuring stick, but if they can find something like that on the cheap, I'm sure they'll take it. But they do need linebacking help. That's obviously a big part of why I feel like Saquon also did go kind of crazy on them, because you kind of need guys that can do that. Man, Bobby Wagner, I thought I had written last year that I thought the Chargers with Harbaugh in could take a look at him. They ended up going with Denzel Perryman, but I thought Bobby Wagner could still ball and he could still play. Going back to this, they're gonna have to they need linebacker help. Obviously, like Tyler said, cornerback is gonna be a big need for them as well. But did you see what Quinyon Lake tweeted out or no the other day?
Yeah, Quinton Lake. Yeah.
Or Quentin Lake. Did you see about the DK Metcalf?
No, what did he say?
I sent it to Tyler. Where is Tyler?
No, and just while you look for it,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say in terms of, they're gonna need linebacker help, and the Rams just don't pay as Eric Williams brought it up on Monday. They just don't pay for linebackers, so they're gonna draft. They're gonna develop.
It.
Oh, he deleted it.
So he had tweeted at the
because the one I saw about DK was the one from Darius Slay where he got into a fight with DK and now they're teammates with the Steelers.
No, he put two of the biggest crash outs in the NFL now link up in Pittsburgh. The league better watch out.
Yeah.
That is freaking hilarious. The fact that he said that, like, two of the biggest crash outs are now going to be on the same team. That is so funny. Yeah, no, but I mean, again, I think they'll use the draft now they already fixed the defensive line. Now they need to go fix linebacker, cornerback. I think that's what they stay. I think they'll target a corner late in the draft.
Yeah, and I mean they've been able to hit in those middle rounds. So
Jorge, I'm trying, Jorge. It's been a long week.
Yeah. There you go.
But yeah, they've been, and that's what I told Gilbert, because I remember Rams fans were starting to get impatient after the 2022 season. I remember I told Gilbert, I'm like, why are they being so impatient? Be patient. These guys draft well in the middle rounds and the late rounds. They're going to be able to fix this, and they're going to find hidden gems that nobody's going to know about. They're going to bring them in, and then they're going to be like, oh shit, this guy can play. Well, yeah, if you just be patient, you're going to find guys like that.
Yeah, I mean they've been able to hit on these guys. They're gonna have to go and sign. I can see them signing some free agents, like a low budget guys, just to be able to fill their special teams. Because one of the things was 2 years ago they were terrible. They were the worst special teams crew. Last season they improved a lot, and so a lot of these free agent losses. You see, like DeMarcus Robinson, makes sense that he went to the 49ers. Because you pretty much replaced him with Davante Adams. But you have a guy like Bobby Brown III. I thought he's going to be huge for the Panthers. And I forgot that the reason the Panthers got two guys, Christian Roseboom and Bobby Brown III. And I forgot that Evero was with the Rams. So he's familiar with those players. And so the defensive coordinator there with the Panthers. So someone to kind of keep an eye on. I want to see what Bobby Brown III does over there. I think he's one of those underrated guys, and I think the guy they're going to miss the most. And you say you were on Buffalo Bills. Was it a radio station or a podcast?
Yeah, radio station.
Yeah, and they said that Michael Hoyt that was somebody that they were really excited about having. I think the Rams are going to really miss Michael Hoyt.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and especially, I mean, you could talk more about what he brought to the team, but it's always like, it sounds like he was more of a fan favorite also, because I've noticed that some fans on Twitter are like, oh, we're going to miss him, this, that. So
yeah, I think part of it too is that this was a young defensive line. And so he was like the older guy on that line, even though he was on a rookie contract, but he was like the leader of the defensive line. He was the vocal leader. I think that's where they're going to miss him. Last thing here before we go, Fernando. So it sounds like Puka Nacua just decided to give up his number 17 to Davante Adams. He didn't ask for anything.
No,
He
there
just
was
wanted to go
something.
back to wearing number 12, which is what he wore in college. So Davante said that he heard the news from his agent. So he never heard from Puka about giving up or he never asked him. So that was kind of cool. Puka's just that kind of a guy. He's a really nice guy. So, but I know he's like, don't blame me for having to get new Puka jerseys and having to go buy number 12 jerseys. So yeah. So if you want to blame somebody, blame Puka. Don't blame Davante Adams from what he said today. So with that said, Fernando, we're ready to go. I wanted to keep this short. Like I said, let us know who you guys think will be the one player that the Rams will miss the most from. And then one last thing I forgot. Sorry, the Rams officially released Cooper Kupp. It sounds like one of the teams that is interested in him is the Broncos. We'll see where he goes. We'll keep an eye, and once we know, we'll bring it to the table next time we're here on House of Horns. But I want to shout out Fernando for joining me today. I wanted to keep this short just because there's not a lot to talk about, but just wanted to make sure that we got to talk about the Davante Adams, the Coleman Shelton, and the Poona Ford signings. So now that they're official, but thank you so much, Fernando, for joining us today. And then Robert D says Cowboys, I heard, wanted Cooper. So we'll see where Cooper Kupp ends up. But with that, I think we're ready to go. You've been on for a couple hours, so I really appreciate you joining me today, Fernando.
Oh yeah, no, of course. I'm always willing to jump on whenever I'm asked. So thank you for having me.
Yep. All right. With that said, let's go. It's time to, get ready for another week. We'll be back. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe button. And yeah, we'll be back on Compas on the Beat on Tuesday. Back with the 4 Compas. Hopefully now that uh what is it? Dan and Dago is
Yeah.
healthy and ready to go. We'll have some fun. Fernando's gonna have a guest for us. Go let us know either Monday or Tuesday who we're having on. So just appreciate everybody who logged on here. Robert, Jorge, Henry. So really appreciate it. So with that said, Fernando, let's go, man.